What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode, or I guess this is our first episode of You're Too Young to Have a Stroke. This is a show with two amazing people that will talk about their life after a stroke. We are both AVM survivors. The rupture was happening in our cerebellum, and we had different, ailments to have after our AVM rupture, but still, nonetheless, we have the same thing in common. But one thing we do have in common is hydrocephalus. It's a problem when you have your brain fluid won't transfer into your spinal fluid, and because of that, you have what's called water on the brain. And we both have to have a VP shunt put in to drain into our stomachs so we can actually survive and live. Because people that have hydrocephalus usually have problems with vision, balance, cognitive skills, so on and so on. So before we get into the show, I want to just remind everybody that this is also Stroke Awareness Month in the United States. Basically, this talks about in the month of May, we want to bring awareness to strokes all across the United States, but we're doing it from a different aspect. We're not doing it as medical type of understanding. We're doing it from a survivor understanding. We don't have any understanding medically. So if you do get anything from this show and you have questions that you want to uh, pursue or to get further understanding of, you go to your medical professional to get understanding from that. We're just having a PhD as a survivor of a stroke or AVM. So without any further ado, I want to introduce my great friend, the co-host, the star of this actual podcast. You know, I'm just the one that's holding things together, but she's really the person that is the one that is everybody's coming to see. Her name is Christina Perez. That is my great friend, Christina. How you doing today, sister?
The star of the
The
show.
star. How you
Hi.
doing?
Hi. Hi.
So, Christina,
What?
before we get started, let's talk about what we're going to be getting into today. I know this show is called You're Too Young to Have a Stroke, but what we want to talk about today in particular is it's okay to let go. A lot of people, when they have their stroke, or even people that didn't have a stroke, have traumas of their childhood and they didn't want to move forward. You know, we had a stroke, and without any warning, we had to start a new life. Everything that we had before was taken away from us instantly. So now all of a sudden we are new people and we have to do new things. So the
Yes.
topic of today is it's okay to let go. What do you think about that? And how does that actually resonate with you?
Nobody prepared us for this road, right? Did you feel like you had tools when everything came out?
Nope.
Exactly. For me personally, being able to not feel like myself anymore, I had to let go. Um, not feeling connected to the person that's in this body versus what everyone else sees or hears. Did you get any of that? Feeling very disconnected from the actual temple.
Yeah. Being disconnected from everything, actually. It was just something that was happening. One day I was cool, and the next day I was just completely a different person altogether. I didn't understand it.
A different person. How so?
A different person. It's like one day I was Greg Graham, the fearless, strong person that was making over six figures, and then the next second, not the day, next second, I was completely someone else. I was a poor person that couldn't afford medical insurance, that couldn't make decisions on my own, and couldn't provide for my family. So it was very traumatizing for me.
Same for me. Very at the time, I was working, very
You having problems with your
independent,
connection, Christina?
and
Christina, you having problems with your
going
connection?
from
Everything all
that
right?
to, I'm sorry,
Your connection is slow. Is everything all right?
what's wrong with my connection?
I don't know.
It is. Am I okay now?
Are you look good, as
Of
always.
course I do.
As always.
Of course I do. Is it better now?
Yeah, go.
Okay. All right. I'm back. So, having to release that that very outgoing personality. I'm much more comfortable. We're reflecting when this happened. So what you see is what you get now. However, it was not like that at all. Um, losing your independence and something as simple as driving, having my father have to drive me everywhere, relearning how to go up and down stairs, relearning how to look at the world differently now because I have one eye, all those things, and overcoming that. You're not prepared for it at all, but you have to be okay because this is the life that you have now, right?
Absolutely, Christina. Absolutely.
I know with my,
It's something dangerous
I think
for
we're
people to
debating.
actually go through, because what's happening is that, one day you're here and then the next day you're there, and you have to rely on people that you probably never even relied on for many years to take care of you. Um, I know for me, it was very heartache and heart wrenching for me to actually deal with the perspective of me dealing with my whole entire life being this particular way that I am now, and I couldn't handle it. It was very stressful. I can remember when I was in the hospital, I didn't really care about walking again or talking or eating. I was worrying about how am I going to be the person I was before. So I asked for a psychiatrist because nobody mentioned or even volunteered to have a psychiatrist come to my room until I begged them for them to actually do that. And I was so scared out of my mind. Did you have that same type of experience?
I did. And having the doctors coming in and out and the nurses and hearing sometimes the conversations outside of your hospital door, the biggest thing for me with the reel that I recently put out, introducing that, I'm looking to recover, show my recovery story. I have a patch on my eye in a lot of those photos. The reason why I had the patch is because my eyes became crossed because when it burst in my head and my left pica, it was so powerful, the pressure, that it actually ruptured the ventricles going into my eye. So they had a patch on me. I didn't realize when I came out of everything that I was actually blind in my eye. And having a new outlook, right? You hear, again, going back to what I was saying, hearing the little chitter chatter outside of your door, like, I don't think she's going to get her eyesight back. Oh, well, once, she has to get cleared and then she'll try to get surgery to see if her eyes get back. I did wind up getting surgery and my eyesight did not return. I chose to not get another surgery because the chances of me losing complete pigmentation in my eye were a lot greater. So I decided I'd rather keep these beautiful brown eyes of mine, and not chance it and be able to relearn a lot of things. My depth perception's off, all of those things. But the difference between what people thought I was going to recover and what I was thinking I was going to recover absolutely differ. I'm sure if you speak to my family and the people that came to see me those first couple of weeks, they probably would never think that one day I would be able to live alone again, that I would be able to drive a car, that I would be able to work. Myself, I always knew I was going to.
See, that's the same thing I'm talking about, Christina. Like I was in the same type of mindset too. It's like when I had my stroke, I didn't realize how bad I was. Within me, I was ready to go back to work, ready to drive, do all these type of things, but I was in a really bad state, and nobody understood how much determination that I had within me to actually move forward. So I'm hearing the same thing from you guys. But hey, guys, before we go any further, Christina, I just want to let the audience know this is an interactive chat. So if you guys have any questions or comments that you want to put in and want us to discuss, just put it inside of the chat and we'll be able to put it live on here and we'll actually respond to them. So feel free. I don't care if you're a stroke survivor, a caregiver for a stroke survivor, or someone that has some type of love or care for the stroke survivor community, please put in your chat comments and we'll put them on live. But continue, Christina. What was that for you, dealing with that type of mindset? Like everybody thinking one way and you like, I know my eye's not working, but I'm gonna work it out because I'm sexy as hell. This is me. Like,
I co-sign that. However, I didn't feel that right away, right? I went through depression. I went through anxiety. I still go through anxiety. However, these aren't things when I'm speaking about that I'm essentially over, right? We're speaking as though this is when we woke up, we realized that our lives are changed. The depression, the anxiety, the isolation for me was the hardest thing. I am not a TV person by any means. To this day, I do not have a TV up. We have a little small one, but that was my friends. That was my companion. I would have family come and they would sit there and talk to me when I was more cognitive. I'm sure the times that they were initially there, I wasn't speaking or anything. Again, kind of going back on when you said that you didn't realize how bad you were. It took a while, but those pictures that I now share were taken of me when obviously I had no idea they were being taken of me. And I recall seeing them for the first time and being like, holy crap, wow. Like that was me. That's what people were walking in and seeing. That's what my father was coming in and seeing. When my mother came and saw me, my brother, this is what they saw. And at that very moment, even so, that's not what I saw. I was so determined to get back to what I lost. And I had to be okay with letting that go. And that is the reason why that's our topic. A lot of our journey is about letting go. And we'll definitely get into what we gain from letting go.
Christina, I have a question from Detroit Zero says, do you feel your personality change after the stroke?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm still funny. I'll always be. I believe I really get that from my mother, who was always a spitfire. My personality has absolutely changed in the sense that I have zero tolerance. I don't have as much patience. We've spoken about this in other interviews that we've done, that the logical aspect of me thinking things. I want to take time and really understand things. I really, for the majority of my life, worked off emotions. And being that my emotions are all over the place now, it's very difficult to trust those fully.
For me to answer that question, my personality probably became a little bit more acute and more in tune with reality. I know before I was very comedic and I was insensitive to people's feelings. Now I'm very sensitive to that, and it's hard for me to converse with people because they don't want to hear the truth. A lot of times and this goes back to the show that we're dealing with here, it's okay to let go. A lot of times I'll talk to people and I will tell them the straight up truth,
I
honest
can,
to
yes,
God truth.
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
and,
You
and, and,
do.
it- and but the thing is, I'm doing that out of love. I don't look at it as a negative thing, because before,
Delivery, Greg.
but
Delivery.
Christina, I don't care. Like, and the reason why I say I don't care is that time is short. I don't need to coddle you to tell you the truth, especially when I see you doing something that's detrimental to your life. I might be wrong, but what we have seen at any given moment, life can change. So why should I worry about my delivery? Why do you concern yourself about feelings when it's the truth that's actually what's going to set you free, not your feelings?
Absolutely, absolutely agree. I do think that it is absolutely delivery for people. You know, when I tell you to hush up nicely, I could just say, Greg, let's let's take a time out, instead of telling you to shut your mouth, right? I think that's what has to do with delivery. Which, do you feel that after this, that delivery aspect is gone? Where I understand you said, you know, you want to tell people straight up, but when somebody's coming to me and they have these problems or things, I work in a job field where I hear people's stories, and it's amazing to me how a lot of the first things that people say is, you have no idea what I've been through. And I'm thinking, you don't either, right?
So, are we talking about perspective of how we have life traumas?
How we have run that back?
Are we talking about different perspectives? How people will say one thing about what they've been through versus what we've been through? Is that what we're talking about now?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I absolutely do not take for granted, and no stroke survivor should, is being able to communicate. Doing this, this is huge. I know of survivors who physically have experienced less than me, who aren't able to express themselves, who aren't able to do a podcast live. That in itself, I feel, going back to our personality, makes me very humble. And I don't take that for granted. Absolutely do not take that for granted. I know that in my past, you know, I probably really took that for granted. This time around, I absolutely don't. What a blessing to be able to communicate.
Yeah, and I'm completely all for that. But even with that comment that you were saying earlier, that people doing that comparison thing, we're not doing this for comparison. We're doing this because this is what's actually happened. Now, I don't like when people, and I guess you saying the same thing too. I don't like when people come to me, and if I say a complaint about myself, or if you say, like, for instance, I look at you now, and people say, "Well, you don't look like a stroke survivor. Are you too young to have a stroke? Stop using that as excuse." Like, you would say, not me, but you would say, "I am blind in my eye. I really can't see out of one of my eye." I know I pull it off right, but that's what it is. And then they'll say, "Well, you know what? As like you get older in age, you get cataracts, or you have to wear glasses." They kept saying, like, why are we doing this comparison thing? I'm telling you what the truth is versus what you feel that you need to come back and combat with me with, because of your insecurity, because you're not having a spotlight, because you think we want the spotlight. We're just telling you reality. How do you feel about that when you deal with things like that?
When I deal with not being understood, I feel like that's what your question is. Not being understood. Frustrated. I feel frustrated, and I feel bad. I feel bad because this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. This is not just for only stroke survivors, but it's also for caregivers and loved ones. we have a voice that maybe their loved one doesn't. And feeling as though your feelings aren't relevant. It's difficult enough to articulate ourselves and get these words out, and or even behaviors. How can I relay that to you to let you know that I do not like this? I don't like the way you're speaking to me. I don't like this situation. I don't like this environment. I don't like the energy in this room. And all of that is heightened because of what I went through. I could have, Christina back then would have been like, we're good. Let's tough it out. Christina now, absolutely not. I remember the first time going shopping after all of this, and I almost had an anxiety attack. And it was so difficult for me to
Yeah.
articulate it's too much. I believe it was Christmas shopping, as a matter of fact. Like, it's too much. It's not that I don't want to hang out with you. I need to go sit in the car. I need silence. I need dark. So, how does it make me feel? Frustrated. Very, very frustrated.
Yeah, and I think that's the next question that this person have. This person Loxley, he's talking about is that after your stroke, does your relationship with others change? Absolutely, because one of the things that you just brought up right now is very important. Like there is things that's happening to you that you cannot explain to other people, and people look at you as that same person as you was before because they look at it's very weird how people act. You know, in all situations, a person will get up and give a pregnant woman a seat, or
Mhm.
if on a train, or if they see someone with crutches, they will get up and get out the way. But if you have invisible disabilities, and like you said, you have an anxiety because you don't want to be around certain type of people, it's hard to articulate to other people this problem. And people don't realize that we have a brain injury. Let me repeat that: a brain injury. So something is going on with our brain that controls our whole entire body, what you physically see and also what you don't see within us. So if we have these issues going on with us and we are the ones trying to articulate that we have a problem within us and you don't understand because you haven't educated yourself, you haven't taken the time out to find out what part of the brain was affected by our
What that
stroke,
affects. Absolutely.
then
Yes.
obviously, yes, we're going to be very frustrated. We're going to have different mindsets. We're going to have a different way to interact with you because you don't understand us, and it's frustrating because we could barely get it out ourselves. So
Perfect
now we
thing you
start
just
thinking,
said. You
you don't
don't
love me
understand
anymore.
us.
You don't like me anymore. You don't have any quality time for me anymore because I'm not that person that was given to you so much. Now I need you, and you're not able to reciprocate. Am I right with this, or am I going somewhere crazy with that?
Well, I thought we were just going to talk about me being cute today. I mean, hey, okay, well, um, spot on, sir. I mean, spot on. And I think that has a lot to do with your tribe, your tribe, and what you choose to keep around you, what energy you keep around you. If you have positive, and again, you're not the only one going through something. The people taking care of you are going through it. They may not be able to articulate themselves, but they're going through something. What you're going through is triggering something in them, whether it's your depression, it's triggering something. The mixture of who your tribe is has everything to do with it. And my only thing is getting frustrated to the point where I have to come at a character. That for me automatically is I want no involvement.
No, that is very,
I want
very
no
interesting,
involvement.
Christina. Because one of the things I was very adamant about was not really taking the advice or I wouldn't say advice. I don't take it lightly when my medical team, my family and friends have expectations for me versus what my expectations are. And I think that's what we were talking about with the question that Loxley had about how, life moves forward and people, people stay in the same type of way, but we have completely changed. And these people see things and they're using some type of, I guess, some template sheet of say, okay, this is step A, step B, step do, and this is what you're supposed to be like. But within us, we know exactly how far we need to go. We know exactly how much we need to do. Did you have that struggle? I know I did. I had that struggle versus what I wanted, what I needed, versus what everybody thought was good for me.
Absolutely. And again, being a young stroke survivor, I was I was 34. I was 34 years old when I had my stroke. And that struggle of being, spicy, Miss Independent, energetic, to you should really calm down. You're not ready to go to work. You're not ready to drive. You're not ready to do this. You're not ready to cook. All of those things, again, going back to losing that independence. Where it's difficult is that people may seem or feel that you're being ungrateful because you're not reciprocating what they're giving. And we have a hard time. I have a hard time. I can't say we because everyone's different. I have a hard time with help. I've always been that way. However, when I feel like I really need it, I'll suck it up and do it. But this was a whole different caliber of help because if I wanted it or if I didn't, I was getting helped in my family relationships, medical, even we don't want it. We're everyone's helping. And sometimes that help is not coming from the right place. And I say that in the sense that feeling like people feel obligated to have to do these things for you or to be nicer or to be more sensitive because you're in a bad place right now and not have that same type of empathy when you do a little more recovery is beyond me. How do we articulate that some of the things that we were working through back then have nothing to do with who we are right now?
Christina, I have a question from one of our audience members. Let me read it out. My question is something I experienced and still tell others today, 35 years later. So this person, Pam, had her stroke 35 years ago. I don't sound like myself in my head when I speak. When you speak, do you think you sound different now? I know for me, Pam, I know I realized that, and let me explain to you guys, what me and Christina have. We have what's called an AVM, arteriovenous malformation. And what we have learned that is only 1% of the world's population has this particular condition, that they are conceived with this condition. And I have found out that I thought I was dyslexic all my life because sometimes I will speak and I can't get certain words out, or I will write things down and I couldn't properly write whatever I was thinking. I would have it in my head, and then all of a sudden, when I write it out on paper, it wouldn't come out correctly. And then afterwards, I realized once I had my rupture, I'm like, wow, this is the reason why all this stuff was happening to me. Because some days I would have things perfectly fine, and next day I don't. And I never knew why. But now this all makes sense. So now I will throw it back to you, Christina. Did that same thing happen to you?
Absolutely. Even now, I'm going to go back and watch this and be like, that's what I sound like. Although I have been told I have quite the soothing voice, believe it or not. Um, it sounds different. The vibrations different in my ears. Watching video, it definitely sounds different. Absolutely sounds different. So, Greg, we talked we were
Yes.
answering questions, which thank you everyone for being so interactive.
Yeah, they
I
are in the right
love
today.
this. Yes. No, Greg, we don't do that, honey. We say yes.
Why can't I
Yes.
just can let me be? Can I just live?
That
That
could
do
even
me?
work as
Please?
therapy.
Please?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We love that. Um, what about stroke recovery regression, Greg?
The regressions of stroke recovery, that is what I heard when I had my avium removed. I had my craniotomy. They told me, Greg, work out a lot before we have this craniotomy to remove your AVM because we don't know how much you're going to regress. And what I mean by that, you might not be able to walk again. You may not be able to talk. You might not be able to swallow. So that was the first time I heard that concept. And then as I got stronger in my recovery, I'm also diabetic or pre-diabetic. And at this point, my feet feels like pins and needles. And I never knew why it was that. And then I realized it was diabetic neuropathy that I actually have. That's why my nerve endings in my feet are terribly bad.
Really? Is that why
Yeah.
you're a dancer?
Yeah, that's why I'm a bad dancer. But that's the thing, that's the reason why I still want to dance because I don't know one day my feet might be amputated because my nerve endings in
Absolutely.
my feet are gone. So I'm living life because I don't care what anybody thinks or anybody says because this is what I want to do. This is what I have right now because there was a moment in time that I was stuck in a hospital bed, handcuffed to the bed, and couldn't move.
Yes.
So now I can move. I don't care what's going on with my body. I'm gonna move until it says it can't do it anymore, and I don't care how I look.
You sure don't.
No, I don't. I don't care. I don't care at
Love it.
all.
I
But
love it.
that's the whole thing. We have to move forward. Is it okay to let go? I let go of the notion that hey, I'm not gonna be a great dancer. Shoot, I never was, but I'm gonna dance,
And you
and I don't care
do.
what anybody says.
You don't have to. I love it. And that's about letting go, right? Letting go
Absolutely,
about somebody looking at you, being offbeat.
I
You
don't
just,
care. But Michelle Humphrey said something a little bit earlier about that communication thing that you was talking about. She said you're spot on with this communication thing. I had to use a spell board for a long time while married to the world's worst speller.
I
I'm gonna
love
tell
it.
John about that, Michelle. That's crazy. But 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 she's bringing up a very interesting point, Christina, and I want you to really elaborate on that if you can. You know, I spoke on it a little bit earlier. We as stroke survivors trying our best to articulate what is going on with us, and then we have to deal with your shortcomings because of whatever your shortcomings are. We have to deal with it, and it's very frustrating to us. And you wondering why we are upset because we can't communicate properly with you because you don't know how to communicate with us. Did that ever happen to you, and how did you solve that?
Solving it is not the is really not what happens. I feel like you yourself, when you're able to articulate these words and you finally get those sentences right and those emotions right, and once you present them, if it's not understood, then it's not meant to be understood, and I leave it alone. I I'm not going to continuously repeat. It's already difficult for me to get these things in order. And some people may feel it's, short, or you don't care enough. It's just I having those emotions and trying to figure that out. It's just not working. If I have these words and I'm giving them to you, you're not receiving them, we're not going to keep going back and forth. Pam S, it's almost as if we were I'm sorry, we revert back to being talked to or treated like a child, like others think that they know better than we do, because that's how it feels. Absolutely. um Being 34 years old and having people bathe you and help you walk, push you in a wheelchair, feed you, cook for you. Absolutely feeling like a child. Um, Greg, with your
Yes,
recovery
yes, yes.
during that time.
No, no, you. I was just letting you rock and roll because you know that's what you do. You like to rock and roll. But yeah, it's weird.
What?
Yeah, you do. You do. You do.
Greg,
Yeah.
no.
What? What? Yeah, you do. You do.
You like to
But
rock
but
and
but you
roll.
know, I understand what Pam was saying to us and to the audience is that people treat us like a little child. And it's like, yeah, we probably can't walk. Yeah, we probably can't talk. But yeah, we can't probably feed ourselves. But we're still inside of there. We still know what is best for us. Like, I give you a perfect example. When I was in the hospital, I knew I was going to be able to walk. I knew I was able to drive again. I knew that. You know, it might not have shown it at that particular time, but in my mind, I knew that was going to happen. And I couldn't say that because I didn't even know how to say it. And then people started giving you advice and not even giving you advice. They're making decisions around you and not including you in those decisions. And then all of a sudden, these are things that you don't like. That's why it's very important that when we, as stroke survivors, get the right, like you said, the word tribe around us, we have to have the right people around us. If they're not the right people, I don't care how good that neurosurgeon is, I don't care how good that physical therapist is. If they cannot relate to you on your level, you're not going to recover because you're going to despise them. You have trust issues, you have anxieties, you have depression. All those things are coming up. So if people don't understand you on your level, like some of us are sarcastic, some of us is very serious, some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. If you can't get on our level, you can't help us. Period. Period. I don't care how good you are. Am I right?
Period.
What?
That's what the youngins say. Period.
Period. Okay. I'm sorry.
Period.
That's why this show is called You're Too Young to Have a Stroke. So I guess I'm a little bit too old to understand what you just said with that.
I mean, you said it, not I.
All right. Let's talk about more with this about doubt and is it okay to lose your friends when you're moving on to this next level of your life? And I know for me, it was very difficult to, uh, like, I was married, I left my house. Some of my friends that I used to deal with before, I completely cut off. And I see even some family members I don't talk to anymore because I couldn't relate to them anymore, and they couldn't relate to me. They thought I was an old person, or they will look at me to make those final decisions like I did before. Um, and what I noticed for myself is that I let go of people. I let go of the notion of who I was, and I gained new friends and new family members. It was amazing. Once I did that, the people that I really needed in my life arrived because I allowed myself to be open to that. You know, what did you have anything like that within yourself?
Absolutely. Throughout this recovery, I initially wanted to go right back to the tribe in which I had before all of this happened. And, these are people I don't even talk to anymore, that were very, prominent people in my life. But as things happen in emotions and the recovery aspect of you really wanting to take care of yourself, and more importantly, you want to protect yourself. If I feel that my character, my integrity, um, is being questioned, and I have to lose that to have you in my life, it's not worth it for me. Not after surviving this. It's not worth it for me. I'm sure that with that loss, there's so much more gain, and there has been. And again, our topic about letting go. We let go, but we gain so much. We really do.
No, I completely agree with you. Pam said peripheral neuropathy is a direct symptom of pre-diabetes, diabetes, and also B12 deficiency. Pam is she's a very interesting woman. She had a stroke, and she was overweight for a long period of time. And then she learned how to get control over overweightness and became a nutritionist and also a physical trainer. So it's like our community and the people, like I was talking about, family and friends. You find these people that you never thought you would be connected to, and then all of a sudden, once you open up your life and up your mind, these people open up to you, and you have them there. So, like you were saying,
Mhm.
you saying this before, you don't give them time or effort to actually destroy your, and I'm paraphrasing here, destroy your inner being. You allow your trial to be solid, to be positive
I don't
thinking.
want you disrupting my energy. I'm
Fact,
going to break it down for you. If your
facts.
energy feels like caca to me, I don't want it. No
I
me
feel like
gusta.
what? Feel like what?
Déjame quieta. Go away. Where I feel like prior, I had much more patience. I had, you want those people, you want that energy regardless. But if I feel now I don't like it, your energy is caca, I don't want it. I don't want it. I
I
don't
feel you,
want it. I
sister.
don't need it.
So we have another question here from Loxley. He says, "Do you guys have memory loss after your stroke?"
What was the question?
I guess that answered the question. I know sometimes I forget a lot of things. People say, "Yeah, Greg, we did this." I'm like, okay, sure, we did. If you say so. Don't ask me. Don't ask me about memory loss and things like that, because I like Christina just eloquently said, "What was your question?" We don't remember. Uh, next question. Next question. I definitely gained way more than I lost. In fact, I actually feel sorry for non-strokes now.
Michelle, wow.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do too. You
And I
know,
want a little bit of an elaborate. You definitely gained way more than you lost. You let go and you opened up to allow all these things to come. And it had to do with what you went through, right? Surviving a stroke and losing that 1.0 version of yourself. I absolutely agree about gaining. You gain a different perspective. You gain a new love of life. Greg,
so
how do you feel about that comment?
I love that comment. That's
I
no,
figured
no,
you
no.
would.
Seriously, like, you know, by my stroke, I met you. You know, you and I had a very great interview. Probably what, in 2021? Was it that long
That's
ago?
when your life changed right before your eyes.
Or whatever. But what I'm saying is that I gained a sister, and without this particular stroke, I would have never had you. Like Michelle, like Pam, all these people that came into my life after my stroke. If we didn't have these strokes, we probably would never communicated with each other. And I consider each and every one of y'all my family. I could literally call each and every one of y'all and have great deep conversations about any particular topic because we think differently, we understand what we've been through, and we're compassionate towards each other. Simple as that. So yeah, I have lost my ability to, you know, if I wanted to skydive or do the job that I used to do before, but what I've gained, this is priceless to me. Completely priceless. I've been in love with women that have been on a platonic level that I never thought it was even possible before. I have friends that know me, I can actually tell them my deepest, darkest secrets, and I feel reassured that they will keep my secrets for life. That is deep for me. Isn't it for you?
This is a deep process. We have to dig deep to come out. And once we're out, we have to keep going deeper to
Yeah, it's
really
amazing, Christina.
find you.
Christina, people feel sorry for us. I'm like, okay, feel sorry for us, but you don't know what we see. We literally, it was like, I can't really explain it, but it's like we're higher than physical bodies now. We passed that. We live with our pain, we live with our disabilities every day, but we see so much more in life. We understand that any day it could be over, so we live each and every day to the fullest. While you say, well, I'll do this tomorrow. Nah, we know we're gonna do this now because we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. We know how it felt to be in that hospital bed for days and for weeks, not knowing if we're gonna survive or not. And we don't want to be in that same position again with the doubts of saying, well, I should have did this, I should have did that. We feel sorry for you guys because you guys don't know how precious life is.
So you feel that after this, after surviving a stroke, you absolutely now know what it feels like to live. That's what I was getting from what you were saying.
Absolutely.
I would agree, as
Absolutely.
do I. And to live freely. I mean, I don't know if you saw my post. I said, today is May 3 and I'm free to live freely
No,
and not
and I
care.
felt you on that. It was kind of weird. It was kind of funny. I'm like, yo, what kind of English she's saying here? But I let her do what she got to do. But I got what you're saying. Like, you're free, and
I'm
people
free.
probably looking at them like, why the hell was you
I'm
locked up
free.
before? But you're free. You're spiritually free. You're open. You're allowing people in. You're allowing your energy to go out.
That's it. Your energy. Everything about that. About your healing process, going through this journey when you're talking about losing friends and losing family, pieces of energy leaving to open you up for new energy, for more magnetic energy. I'm not just speaking about me entering your life, but other great things that you've been doing and the people you've been experiencing.
Hold on,
So
Christina. You
proud
got
of
some
you.
fans here that's saying they're proud of how you grow, but they don't care about me. I'm kind of sad about that. But but I just gotta let you guys know
uh,
that this person right here is Sadia. Sadia Holmes.
no, sir. No, 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 no. I'll say it. If we can't say it right, I'll say it. It's Saida.
Saida Holmes.
Saida.
Saida Holmes don't like anything about me and how I progress. So continue.
She's proud. Saida, thank you. I love you. I don't have to go deep in, but thank you. Always. Pam, I see on the side. Sarcasm is my love language. Yes, Pam. You gotta be. We are different now. We are more comfortable with our own skin. How do you feel about that, Greg? Are you more comfortable now than you were prior?
Yeah, I'm free. Like you said before, I'm completely free. I used to, and I, it's weird because I tell people this stuff and they look at me like I'm crazy. I tell them, like, why do you do certain things that you do? Why do you hold on to certain things that you don't need to hold on anymore? Like, I am completely free. I lost my house, my ability to work. I lost all these things, but I'm happier now than I ever been in my whole entire life. And one of the things I had to do, I had to be completely honest. I think that'd be for another show. But when I speak to people now, or when I try to date people now, I have to be something that I have never been before. It's honest. And the old saying that the truth will set you free. I am so comfortable that I'm not scared anymore about what people might think about me or what kind of things I'm holding or skeletons I have in my closet. If I'm dating somebody, I'm gonna let them out. And if you don't like it, okay, cool. And if you want to go tell the world about it, that's cool too. That's on you. But I'm free. I'm free from your perception of me. I'm free from your thoughts that you have within you that you cannot get past. I am
Yeah.
completely open-minded. I am completely free. I don't care what type of scenario you bring to me. I'm good. I'm free.
You have to live without fear. You have to go through this journey without fear. Honestly, the only thing I'm afraid of is a lumbar puncture. I'm and roaches, but lumbar punctures up there. Lumbar puncture. Well, no, I don't know. Roaches might be number one. Roaches and then lumbar puncture. And for people who know me who are in here, you know how I feel about cucarachas. However, lumbar punctures, but however, living without fear, accepting this life that you have now, it looks nothing like what you imagined. I would have never thought, waking up and that I would be where I am doing what I'm doing right now at this very moment. More importantly, being so open about it and being exposed. Why are you laughing?
I'm looking at this next comment. I don't know if this is your real daddy or Daddy Keith. I don't know who this person is.
Keithy!
I just saw Daddy Keith. I was like, your biggest fan, Daddy's Keith. I was like, okay.
Believe it or
I don't know
not,
what this is, but
because
I go with it.
That's Christina 1.0's father-in-law.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
Keithy.
I just saw Daddy Keith. I'm like, oh, I don't know where to go with this. So
but you were very quick to put that up on the screen.
Yeah, I had to put it on the screen though.
I mean, you couldn't even side message me. We couldn't side message me. Like, hey, is this okay?
Yeah, I've been side messaging you all throughout the show, but you haven't been reading them.
About, like exposure. You could have side.
You don't read the side message. I've been giving you side messages this whole show.
We'll talk about this after.
Okay. I'm with that.
I'm free.
Christine, let's get back on this topic though. Even with our doubts, I've been doing shows for a long time. I probably interviewed like 300 people since I had my stroke. And one thing that always come up is about, how do you move past your old life, going back to work and you can't do that job anymore, or that passion that you have, you can't do that passion anymore. Did you go through that and had to deal with depression because after your stroke, you wasn't able to be that same Christina that you was before or go to that same job you had before?
Very much so. Not being able to perform, being overwhelmed. I couldn't wait to get back to work because, again, I wanted to get back to that life, right? I wanted to get to that Christina 1.0 so bad. And I remember at the time, I was working at a car dealership. Shout out to Ride Now. And I remember I was always very good with de-escalating situations and things of that sort. And prior to, the aneurysm aspect, and there was a situation going on, and I was trying to be like my old self and, go downstairs and handle something. And, one of my coworkers thought that I was doing something and like blew up on me. What the F? Da, 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 da. What is she doing? She comes back. And I felt so small at that moment because I felt like a wounded animal. I did. I felt like I was in this jungle and I was a wounded animal, and they could tell that I wasn't as strong as I used to be. Does that make sense to you? Can you relate to that? Like, absolutely. I felt like a wounded animal. I didn't say down, keyword. I wasn't down. I was wounded. And I felt like, just like if you watch National Geographic and you see the lions going after the other lion that's hurt, I felt that. And I had to be able to accept that, even though I was not the same, I still need to stand up for myself and bring that out and really overcome somebody else not believing in you, and really going back to a lot of your feeling that you had about yourself had to do with people's reactions towards you. Somebody's tone, the way that they speak to you, they have respect for you because they know you don't play that. It wasn't that. It was that here's this girl who shouldn't have survived this coming in here acting as though she's got it all still together. And I didn't at that point. I wanted to, but I absolutely didn't. So that's my version of going something through.
So hold on a second. I want to ask Daddy Keith something. Daddy Keith, did Christina just ask me, how did I felt? Did I feel like a wounded animal? And she talked for like another 5 minutes. Can you tell your daughter, Daddy Keith, to pipe down and let me answer her question, please? My goodness, Christina, where are we at right now?
Again, I just said wounded animal. So you were doing as you should have, and you were being wounded and allowing me, the lioness, to do what I need to do. The lionesses are the ones who gather the food and bring it back. You sit there and you wait. Right?
Just lick my wounds and just be quiet while I'm bleeding to death. I got you. Okay. Sounds about right to me. Well, I never used that analogy of the wounded animal, but I did feel like I was inadequate. I felt like I wasn't able to make those decisions that I used to make when I used to work as an instructional designer or the head of the household. I felt less of a man, and that depression was real. It was real. I would get in dark places. I wouldn't talk to people for days. My mother used to say to me all the time, stop saying that, Greg. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care how I look. I don't care how my mom said, why do you say that? Like she thought I was suicidal. That was that bad. But I wasn't. I was just at a place that I knew I wasn't able to do the things that I was doing before. And I had to reinvent myself. And in order for me to reinvent myself, I had to lose everything. I had to get rid of everything. I had to start from scratch. I had to get, in a lack of a better term, butt naked and really dress myself all over again. And once I did that, I found who I was supposed to be. And I think that brings me to another point. Christina, what did you do to combat depression, anxiety, and move forward after your stroke? After you got home and nobody was there and you had to really be Christina 2.0, what techniques can you give our audience that you did to help you move forward?
I know it wasn't something that I did perfectly to begin with. Um, a lot of it I looked for in other people. I wanted to have those connections so bad that I wasn't taking time for myself. As much isolation that we have during that recovery, and times where I was, at the time I was living with my father and being alone in a room to think, my first thing was, to try to get attached to something, to lash on. Am I breaking up? Dolores Graham said I'm breaking up. Am I breaking up?
You look good to me. I don't know.
Thanks. But going back to that, I did not go to therapy, as I'm sure, as long as I should have, especially I don't feel that even the physical therapy aspect, all these things, the best way to do it is just to believe in yourself. And it's so hard to do that, especially when you're surrounded. Again, everything has to do with your tribe. You have to have a tribe. You have to have a tribe that holds you accountable. But being able to believe in yourself and believe that you got this. You may not have it the way that you had it before, but you got this. This version of yourself you got. And I got this. And I did.
No, I could dig that. I could really dig that. You know, for me, with that same type of process, you know, there was a couple of things that I did to help me move forward, and I am so grateful for the people that are within my life and all the bad things that even happened to me in my life. You know, it gave me the opportunity to understand that I needed to move forward. Like
That's
without my mother, I wouldn't know that I was diabetic. You know, I was staying at a person's house and I was going to the bathroom all throughout the night. I couldn't hold my urine for anything. It's just coming out of me, coming out of me. And I was losing weight drastically. And I went to my doctor, and my doctor was telling me, okay, Gregor, here's your, you know, your work, your blood work, da 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 da, everything looks fine. And then my mother said to the doctor, said, let's check his blood sugar. I think something's wrong with him. And my blood sugar was over 200. And my doctor, that my primary care physician, didn't even recognize that. But if I didn't have my mother at my side, I could have went into a diabetic shock. I could have even died.
yeah.
But nobody that was around me, nowhere that I was living with, even understood that or even thought about that. It just left me to be what I was. So, you know, after that, you know, I started to really have to think about what I need to do within my life to survive, because nobody, I'm not gonna say they don't care, but nobody really pay attention to a grown ass adult and try to figure out what they need to be done for them to survive. If they could walk, they could talk, they're good, but they don't realize everything else that could be happening within them. So, you know, just to piggyback on this conversation a little bit more, you know, I had two great examples in my life to make me move forward. I had my grandniece that was born. She was trying to learn how to walk, and I used to see her fall all the time and get back up. And I was like, okay, that's how I got to be. I can't just get depressed and say, okay, I fell, I
No,
can't get up.
gotta
Blah, blah,
keep
blah.
going.
That's what adults do. And then once again, my mother introduced me to a lady that was 100 years old. And I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with her. And she was telling me how she's seen things, you know, how she went through segregation and all this type of stuff, and understanding how life is. And the most important thing she told me, she was like, Greg, you know, be honest and believe in God, and everything will work itself out. So when I heard that, I was like, phew. And then, you know, I'm still not really religious. I used to be religious, but I thought about something that happened in the Bible. You know, when Jesus was about to die, he said, forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they do. So that's how I look at other people that don't respect me or treat me right or don't really look out for me. I'm like, forgive them. They don't know what they do. So that's how I move forward and I actually progress. So those are the tools that I actually use to get me out of depression, not to stay stuck in those old ways or old mindsets of saying, okay, these people did this to me, so I have a right to be mad and right to be upset.
And letting
That's not
go.
true.
Yeah. Letting go.
Gotta let go.
Letting go. Now, do you feel that letting go sometimes is easier or harder now?
Um,
Let me an example. I know we touched upon, you know, a little bit about family and friends, but yourself, what's one thing that motivates you day by day to keep you going for your goals? My dogs. I said it real Jersey. My dogs. My
Yeah,
dogs
you did go to
motivate.
Jersey on that one.
I love my puppies. I love them, my Xena and my Zora. And honestly, my mother. My mother. How about you, Greg? I know you're a father of two beautiful young ladies. What motivates you?
I don't think anything motivates me. What inspires me is my daughters. My daughters inspire me to be better. Because I look at motivation as something that, um, if you're not inspired to do it, nothing can really motivate you to move forward. Because motivation comes and goes depending on the wind. But I am inspired by my daughters and what they see within me, and trying to become a better father for them. I will drop every single thing in my life. Do you hear me? Everything for them. Sometimes people say, Greg, you're doing this and you're going without. So what? So they inspire me to keep on getting up, doing more, no matter what the circumstances is, whatever what happens to me, it's not important anymore. It's I have a job to do, and my job is to work on building a brand for them to have when I pass away. So inspiring, yes. Motivation, not so much.
I like that switcher.
Did you say something under your
So,
breath?
did
Because
I
I didn't
what?
hear you. Did you say something under your breath? Because I didn't hear you, sister.
I have no breaths, just whispers of love.
Okay. Yeah, we talk about this
What
off
are
camera because
different
I know
now?
it
Yeah.
wasn't of love.
I'm sorry,
I know it wasn't of love, so we'll talk about it after off
Greg.
camera.
Everything about me is of love.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Um, I want to talk about the reason why we're doing this. Of course, it's great that we get to really engage in this as it is Stroke Awareness Month. Um, I loved one of the comments you said. Look, here I go giving you a compliment, baby. You better take it while it's hot. Take it while
I'm
it's hot.
receiving it. I'm
Here
receiving it.
I go. All
I'm marking
right.
it down my calendar
And
to see the time that you
don't
actually
flip
did
this
it.
up and try to put this in a reel because I'm giving you a compliment.
All right.
One of the things I loved that you said was us having PhDs in this recovery. Do you recall saying that? If you don't, I do. However, you said that. And what a great way to describe this. The reason why we want to do this is because we want this. We want this interaction, not only for the survivors, but for the caregivers, loved ones. We can give you an insight that you aren't going to get out of a book. We have lived this. We're living this. And I personally am still navigating through this. It's a journey. It's a long journey, but watching these comments, watching the people who are being able to see that, it makes what we're doing that much more sweeter. Greg, would you agree about that?
I don't know, Christina. Yes and no. I think it's for that reason, but it's more about people understanding minorities plight and being stroke survivors. That's one of the things I really wanted to get out there, because a
Mhm.
lot of times in our community, when you say I'm a stroke survivor, they're like, oh, so how was your diet? Do you start eating differently? I'm like, I didn't have that type of stroke. Oh, there's different type of strokes. you know, or, you know, like the example I was giving you before about my doctor misdiagnosed what was going on with me because I was on Medicaid. And that's how terrible our healthcare is within, you know, with the less fortunate people in our society. So I think more or less is what we're trying to do is to speak for those people that can't speak for themselves, the people that are being disfranchised from society because of where they live or how much money they have or even the color of their skin, and how we are very articulate with what we have, what the gifts that we have, and it's ready for people to pick and understand better. Because I know for myself, I like looking at very attractive women to educate me on things, and I know there's probably women that look at very attractive men to actually educate them on things that they probably would have never even thought about thinking about looking at because it wasn't addressed to them.
So I'm gonna have an attractive male join me next time. Is that
You are terrible. But hey,
what
Christine,
you're saying?
before we go, I wanted to show you my T-shirt. I did this documentary. It's called Pod, a Pod documentary. I'm gonna put the link in it below. I had this nice gentleman come by my house to actually talk about this particular documentary. You know, it's a pretty interesting thing because he was a stroke survivor and he had
Amazing.
his stroke, and all of a sudden everything just went to kaput because he was a lawyer, and then all of a sudden he lost everything. And once he lost everything, life became living hell. He couldn't speak. He had aphasia. His name is Coleman Watson. And I'll put his link in for the Pod documentary. He put me in it. So I was very excited about that. He's going all across the United States to actually talk about stroke survivors, aphasia, and things of that nature. So be on the lookout for the
Good
Pod
for you,
documentary.
Greg.
Look at me.
No, I said good for you.
Oh, good for me.
Yes.
Thank you, sister.
Good for you.
So that's why I'm wearing this T-shirt.
We like it. It's very nice. You
Thank
look
you, ma'am.
wonderful. Not as good as me, but you look wonderful. I want to make sure that we thank everyone who tunes in. The comments. I love how interactive you guys are. That's awesome. We love it. I love it. I love the questions, the comments, all of it. This is great. I feel great. And you guys made this first time so exciting for me. Make sure that you guys who aren't following us, our social media sites for Greggy Poo and I is Y, the number two, Y2 HA stroke. So it's you're too young to have a stroke. However, it's the letter Y, the number two, Y2 HASTROKE. That's on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well. Greg?
Yes.
You're in the background. Thank you. I look forward to doing this next week with you. Are you ready?
I am definitely ready. I'm excited. I'm ecstatic about this. I know we have a couple of more great interviews or discussions that we're going to have for the Stroke Month of Awareness of May of 2023 and beyond that. But, you know, I'm very excited. I'm happy to be blessed with a beautiful woman and intelligent intellectual like yourself on this show.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Thank you, Greg. So make sure you guys tune in next week. We're doing same time, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Make sure you follow the stream. And next week's topic is dating. We're going to talk about dating. Dating after a stroke recovery. Greg?
I'm down. Let's rock and
You
roll.
ready?
Yeah.
And when I say that, I say it in the sense that as we're talking about this recovery, family, and friends, who were you? What type of date were you before all of this happened? And who are you now?
Are you asking me that
So
now, or is that something that we're going to talk about later?
I'm sorry.
Are you asking me that now, or is that just a topic that we're going to talk about?
Oh no, Greg, I was speaking to the audience. That wasn't for you, honey.
Okay.
Dating after a stroke. And I can honestly say, hey, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it, sister. Well, I had a good time. Well, have
So did
a great
I.
night, and thank you for everybody for coming in. Talk to you guys later. Love you guys.